It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Conversations with Joan. Conversations with Joan will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Conversations with Joan. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Conversations with Joan focuses on topics that are important to your life, from health and wellness to professional development to personal well-being. Changemakers join me to share their insights, tips, and strategies so you can thrive and live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. Now, let's start talking. Little did aspiring actor Burt Ward know that learning martial arts, in addition to his mental and athletic ability, would change his life forever. A star athlete as a teenager, Burt had everything necessary to be a true boy wonder, and a boy wonder he became. Burt was cast as Robin opposite Adam West in the Batman TV series for ABC, a show that became an overnight sensation. Burt and Adam made personal appearances together and were featured on the cover of Life magazine. Years after the end of the TV series, Burt switched gears and went from Cape Crusader to Canine Crusader. Driven by his love for animals, Burt and his wife Tracy created the nonprofit Gentle Giants Rescue and Adoptions. Gentle Giants is now the largest giant breed dog rescue in the world. Welcome, Burt. Thank you so much for joining us.
Nice to meet you.
So, Burt, like millions of others, I grew up watching Batman and Robin, and those are beloved characters to this day. Tell us a story about how you got involved with the show.
Well, I was a young actor going to UCLA studying acting professionally. I on the weekends, was helping my father out, who was a prominent real estate broker in Beverly Hills, California. I helped him sell a house to a famous producer who was nice enough to send me to an agent who sent me out for the part. There was a little bit of competition, about 1,100 young actors that were trying out for the part. And I got the role. I was told by the executive producer, we picked you, Burt, because in our minds, forgetting acting and television for a minute, but if there really was a Robin, for real, we think that you personally would be it. So we want you to just be yourself and be enthusiastic. And that's what I did for 120 episodes.
Burt, was this your first major role?
It was my first role, period.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a wonderful experience. It was an amazing opportunity, but I felt really comfortable being a very athletic person, and I was able to do all the stuff that they wanted Robin to do, and I just had a great time doing it.
From the beginning, during those years, how did Robin evolve?
Well, I mean, the character goes back to the comic books that were in the 30s and 40s. They were developed, and we basically brought those comic book characters to life. And if you think about all the movies that have since come out with superheroes, those movies probably would never have happened if it hadn't been for the tremendous success of our television show Batman that brought superheroes into everybody's homes.
So the show was a hit, and you and Adam were thrust into the spotlight almost overnight. What was that like for you? Was it crazy?
Well, on one hand, it didn't have any change in one hand, because when you spend 12 hours a day in a cold sound stage and there's nothing to do but sit around for 45 minutes to work for 20 seconds, it's not the glamour that you might think. However, when I would go out and make personal appearances and meet people, and I would see how the reaction was of kids just of all ages, adults, kids, teenagers, everybody went nuts over Batman, that it was a whole different world than working on that soundstage, putting on that costume and getting in front of that hot light with the camera.
You know, I'm dating myself because I'm in my middle 50s, and so I grew up watching the show, and it was just so magical. There was just something about it, the guests that you had, and today you look at the way everything has to be so graphic and so spelled out. I like what you guys put out. I think it was magical.
Well, it was also family entertainment. It was something for everybody. For kids, it was the hero worship. What child didn't want to be Batman or Robin, or at least ride in the Batmobile and climb walls and fight heinous villains, all for the good of mankind. And for the adults, it was the nostalgia of the comic book. And for teenagers and college kids, it was that campy style, that double meaning, insinuation, and all the kinds of things that were kind of inside jokes and stuff that, teenagers and college kids, they loved. There was something for everybody.
You had so many great guests and supporting characters on the show. What were some of your favorite moments?
Surviving. It was a very dangerous show to make. And I remember in the first week, I think it was 4 out of the first 5 days, I ended up in the emergency hospital with second-degree burns, a broken nose. I mean, I didn't think I was going to survive the first week.
So you didn't use stunt doubles back then?
Well, they had a stunt double for me, but there was a problem, okay? I found that on the first day when I was in the Batmobile in the Batcave ready to come out, and the famous drive through the Batcave, and I looked over expecting to see Adam West, but there was a stunt driver there. And I said, "Oh, well, why are you here?" He said, "Because this is a very dangerous stunt, and the studio doesn't want to take a chance of Adam West getting hurt." I said, "Well, wait a minute. If this is so dangerous, how come I'm sitting here? Well, don't I have a stunt man?" He says, "Oh, yeah, you have one." I said, "Well, where is he?" "Oh, the last time I saw him, he was over having coffee with Adam West." I said, "Wait a minute. There must be a terrible mistake here." So I called over the second unit director before they started filming, and I said, "I don't understand this. I'm supposed to have a stunt man." They said, "Oh, you do?" I said, "Well, but if this is a dangerous stunt, why isn't he sitting here instead of me?" And he said, "Because we can't use him." "Oh," I said, "Well, why is that?" He said, "Because he doesn't look like you." I said, "Well, wait a minute. Why would you hire a stuntman to be my stuntman if he doesn't look like me?" Well, we couldn't find anybody else. So as a result of that, many of the really dangerous stunts, in fact, they had a policy on Batman. If it's ever really dangerous, always use Bert.
Who were some of the villains that you enjoyed working with the most? Who do you think are the most memorable for you?
For me, as a young actor, I was like the kid in the candy store. Every one of these stars was somebody that I had seen either in movies or on television, and I was just blown away to have an opportunity to work with them. I remember when Vincent Price came on the set to do the role of Egghead. I had remembered as a child seeing the Raven in some of his scary movies, and I had that moment when I first met him where I was actually a little frightened. They turned out to be a really nice band, and I had one of the best egg fights of my life throwing eggs at Egghead on that show. So it was a lot of fun, and there were so many great stars.
Yeah, the list goes on. I was looking through it in preparation of speaking with you, and I really had forgotten how many amazing actors had been on that show.
There were so many stars that wanted to be on the show, but because of the limitation of having one villain a week, the producers created the special scene of Batman and Robin climbing up the side of a building and a window opening. And we had so many superstar guests, from Sammy Davis Jr. to Colonel Klink to Lurch to Betty White to Don Ho to just so many actors and actresses that wanted to be on our show, that their own children were driving them crazy to get on Batman.
Bert, how would you like the show to be remembered?
Well, considering it's in reruns and it will probably be shown forever, I think it's more than just remembered because we're on every week. People can see it. And, even in today's world, it's a lot of fun. And in the last 2 years, I've made 2 movies with Warner Brothers. They're animated features with my voice, reprising my role as Robin. The first one is called Batman Returns, the Cape Crusaders, and that's Adam West did the voice of Batman. I did the voice of Robin. And the most recent one, Batman versus Two-Face, again, Adam West did the voice of Batman. I did the voice of Robin, and the voice of Two-Face was portrayed by none other than William Shatner. So here you have the 2 most iconic television shows in history, Batman and Star Trek, with the actors working together.
So, Bert, you made the switch from Cape Crusader to Canine Crusader. How did you start on the journey of rescuing dogs?
Well, 25 years ago, my wife and I moved to a small city about an hour east of Los Angeles with our young daughter. And we thought we'd get our daughter a dog. And I liked Great Danes. My wife liked Irish Wolfhounds. And so we started looking, and we found out that there was all these Great Danes that were given up, that instead of being in a rescue, that the person who was rescuing Great Danes had actually died. And now all of these Great Danes were going into animal shelters, and everyone was being put to death. These big, gentle giants. And I said to my wife, Tracy, the first week of August of 1994, I said, we can't let these dogs die. How about just for a couple of weeks, just till we get somebody else to take this over, that we take these dogs? Well, that first month, we had more than 100 Great Danes at our house. And it's been 25 years, and nobody's ever taken it over. I mean, I'm a patient guy, but 25 years.
So tell us a little bit more about your charity. How can we get involved?
Well, first of all, we rescued, in the last 25 years, more than 15,500 dogs. Every one would have been put to death if we hadn't been there to save them. In the course of saving their lives, I mean, if you think about it, if you go to trouble to save a life, you certainly want that dog to live as long and as healthy as possible. So we developed a feeding and care program that initially added about 3 years to every dog's life. That information is available on our website at GentleGiantDogFood.com. And so we had Great Danes that normally live 7 to 9 years, actually living on average 10 to 12 years, which was pretty tremendous just by that. But then, because we love these dogs so much and we didn't want to lose them, we developed a special dog food called Gentle Giant. It is different from every other dog food in the world, okay? Completely different. And eating this food, our dogs are living up to 27 years, including our giant breed. We've got Great Danes living up to 22 years, which, when you consider their average lifespan is 7 to 9 years, that's triple. And we have other dogs living to 27 years. We have dogs running around like puppies in their 20s. And right now, of the more than 50 dogs that we have in our house, as I speak to you, 30 of those dogs have already lived more than twice their normal lifespan. This food my wife and I, we take no salary from. This is all about our charity and loving animals. It's called Gentle Giant. It's available in Walmarts all across America on Walmart.com. It's available on our website, GentleGiantsDogFood.com. And everything that we're doing is targeting helping dogs live longer, healthier, happier lives. And I'll tell you something. For the average person who loves their dog, to have their dog for an extra 5 or 10 years longer is not just great for the dog, but look what it does for the pet parent.
Bert, from this research and all the work that you've been doing, in addition to the food that you just talked about, what are some things that dog owners can do to improve the quality and longevity of their dog's life?
Okay, how we have dogs living up to 27 years is by 3 things. Think of it this way. If you were opening a combination lock and you had to turn the lock so many turns to the left and so many to the right and back to the left, you'd realize you have to get all 3 things exactly right to get it to work. Well, the maximum longevity that we've developed is by combining 3 things. How you care for your dog, number 1. Number 2, how you feed your dog. And 3, what you feed your dog. Well, our Gentle Giants dog food is so different than every dog food. For example, if you have a dog, and I don't know if you do, but if you did have a dog, and you felt your dog's food, the food that you give your dog to eat, you would feel a slightly greasy feeling on the outside of that food. That is animal fat that was sprayed on the outside of the food to get dogs to eat the food and to actually make them hungrier, to make you feed them more, to make you buy more dog food. We don't believe in that. Our dog food is totally dry on the outside. It isn't greasy. And people say, well, what's the big deal about this animal fat? Well, I'll tell you what the big deal is. You wouldn't put bacon grease down your garbage disposal at home, right? Because you know that if you did that, you would clog your garbage disposal and you would ruin it. You'd be buying a new garbage disposal. So I explain to people, when you realize that animal fat will ruin a metal garbage disposal, what do you think is happening to the intestines and arteries of your dog when every single bite they take, every kibble that is encapsulated in animal fat? And that's just one of a dozen different things that we do differently with one objective: to help every dog live the longest, healthiest, happiest life possible.
Bert, very quickly, before we run out of time, can you provide a tip or two that can help someone find the right pet?
Well, first of all, if you want to get a dog, you really need to understand that you are taking a big responsibility on. Not everybody should have a dog, okay? They are a living creature. They are a very loving, sensitive creature that needs time. So if you're a really busy person and you just want to get one to enjoy it on the weekend or something like that, or a few hours a day, you shouldn't be getting a dog. Dogs are for people who have the time to spend with them. When you have a living life, there's such a responsibility to properly care for it. So that's one thing. Secondly, if you get a dog, that you want to be sure, come to our website, GentleGiantsDogFood.com, learn how to properly feed and care for your dog. You can add years to your dog's life and have such a better enjoyment of your dog if you can communicate with your dog. I'm here right now in my home with more than 50 dogs. You don't hear them barking. You don't hear them arguing. It's a wonderful, nurturing environment. We teach people, whether you have one dog or many dogs, how to create that wonderful environment, how to communicate with your dog, how to have the best time, and how to give your dog many more years of health and happiness.
Bert, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your life's work with us. You've brought joy to so many of us over the years, and you continue to bring joy to many through a different channel. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, citizen, to the Batmobile.
This is Conversations with Joan. Stay with us. We'll be right back.